Well, hey, everybody, welcome to the Seeing Ability podcast, where we're having a conversation about the world of people with differences. And that means sometimes we're going to be talking to an adult who grew up as a child with some sort of challenge or disability. A lot of times we're going to be talking to parents who are or have raised kids on that path. And then we're going to be talking to a bunch of people that support this community. It could be educators, it could be folks that work for nonprofits, people in healthcare. First of all, I know you're busy and your time is really valuable. So thanks for tuning in today. My hope is this podcast always inspires you, educates you, and has just become part of your village. So thanks for hanging out with us today. I think you're really going to love meeting my guest, Susan Kinningham. Susan, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, thanks for having me.
As my listeners know, we like to start off just getting to know you as a person a little bit outside of the world of disability or disability advocacy, and that is with the Fast Four. Now, my friends at Reliable Tech Help, they kind of support the Fast Four. So if you've got tech frustrations, reach out to them, 502 797 7399. And the first question is, what is your favorite food?
Chocolate. It's a food group, right?
Absolutely, and it's pretty much a required one. You can stay. Number two, if we checked out your playlist, what kind of music would you have on it?
Um, right now I am listening to the soundtrack from Song Sung Blue.
Very
Yeah,
good. I like that. I love that movie. I thought it was really good.
yeah.
Number three, what are you enjoying these days? And this is a guilt-free zone. It could be a guilty pleasure streaming TV show, could be a movie you've seen, could be a book you're reading. What are you enjoying?
Well, I just watched Wuthering Heights and now I'm into Song Sung Blue. So,
There you go. Okay, so some good viewing. I love it. And then
yeah.
last but not least, if you could snap your fingers and we would show up maybe with a limo, whisk you off somewhere around the world, a bucket list place, where would you go?
Oh, I'll go to Spain. I've been there
Spain. There
twice.
you go.
Spain. I've
You
been there twice. It's really fun.
you did not hesitate, so I love that. A fan of Spain. Well, again, welcome to the podcast. You and I met at an autism-focused event here in Louisville, where I'm from, and
Hmm.
I loved learning about the work you do. Tell us a little bit about sort of your backstory. How do you intersect with this world of young people with differences?
Okay. I have a degree in elementary education, my bachelor's. I have a master's in reading education and another master's in ABA, and a bunch of other trainings and certifications. And I don't know what I want to be when I grow up. Um, so I work with special needs children and I work one-on-one with them because one-on-one is the most, research says it's the most effective way to teach. But that's not going to happen in schools very often. So, my backstory is I'm a mother of five kids, um, and they were all very different, and they all needed emotional regulation in different ways. The youngest one did things like run into traffic, jump off two-story decks, set the house on fire. He wrecked his first car when he was three.
Wow.
Another one, I think he was nine. So, um, and so there were challenges there. And then I worked one-on-one with children. And when you're working with kids who have reading disabilities was the first group I was working with, you find out that there are so many other things that are involved. Their
Mm.
emotions are involved, their background is involved, that you really need to teach the whole child. Um, the child, the young man who got my attention and really kind of set my passion was in Georgia. He was an eighth grade boy who was coming in through the Reading First program into our center. He was getting special tutoring, but he was with a group, and they asked me to take him out separately. They said, "We don't think he can read." He was 15 years old, um,
Mm.
big football player kind of guy, and I put him through his paces, and no, he couldn't read. But I couldn't see that there was a reason why, other than he had just gotten lost in the cracks.
Mm.
So we worked for, then he shared his family background with me. And he said, to give you an idea, the parents drove a cab for a living. The mom, who was on oxygen, drove the cab 12 hours during the day. The dad, who had had a quadruple bypass, drove it for 12 hours at night.
Mm.
He
Wow.
told me that he said, my daddy can't read. My mama can read a little better than he does. Remember, we're in country Georgia. And he said, and people make fun of me because I can't read. And he began to cry.
Mm.
And I said, there's no reason you can't. I'll teach you to read. Now, there was no money to be made for this. And I knew that this was going to be about 2 years of work. And so I committed 2 to 3 years that we were joined at the hip. He was there once or twice a week. And I worked with him through not just reading, but through education and culture and the world we lived in. And we would always read a storybook, a picture book at the end. There's a lot of really great picture books that are great for junior high kids. Um, and I said, okay, the reason we're doing this is someday you're going to have a child and you're going to need to be reading storybooks to him.
I
Well,
love that.
he now has a year and a half old child.
Oh, wow.
And I said, are you reading to him? And he says, not yet. I said, okay, get board books, head for the library. Um, so he took it from being teaching to being a mission.
Yeah.
So that's a little bit of my backstory.
I love that. Wow. What a story. And you're still in touch. How many years ago was that?
20.
Wow. So neat that you're still in touch with them. You mentioned all the different needs kids have. And I know from us talking before this episode, you said a big piece of your work is addressing emotional regulation. So talk to us about what you've learned about that and why it's so important.
Okay. Um, a lot of times we have emotional regulation and teaching academics in two separate worlds, but they can't be in two separate worlds. The whole child is not in two separate worlds. And that's what I try to meld. So when I work with kids, I'm taking children who are squirrels and who are going to be all over the place, and their emotions are going to be all over the place. They're going to be threatened. They're afraid because someone's going to tell them they intrinsically believe that they are stupid and that being with someone who's teaching them is going to make them feel stupid.
Mm,
And they respond almost with a shutdown from the beginning. So that's where I come in with working with things. And these are things I did with my own kids at home because every
mhm,
parent, whether they're homeschooling or not, is still homeschooling. They're still
mm,
working to teach their child something along the way. And they're still dealing with a resistant, frightened child. And
mm,
they're dealing with emotions that kind of go off the charts. Um, Let me give a little bit of background. I'm trained
mhm,
in something called polyvagal theory. I'm trained in a program called Safe and Sound Protocol, and it is about training the nervous system to be comfortable with safety. Do you mind
mm.
if I share my screen a minute?
Yeah, go right ahead.
Okay, great.
And again, for those of you listening, if you don't and you're not seeing us right now, you can check out the video of this episode that's always posted on our podcast Facebook page.
There we go. Okay. I have here a little chart. Participants can now see your application. Great.
Yep, yep, I can see
Okay.
it.
I have a little chart. It shows a little boy with a radar coming out of his head. Did you know that everyone has a built-in radar? It's called neuroception, and it's pretty cool. Neuroception, for those of you who are listening, is our radar that is looking for cues of safety and danger. We all have it. Neuroception looks for cues. It helps us decide if our world is safe or scary. So this
Mm,
little boy is looking at his world, if you can't see the picture, and he sees monsters and he sees bunny rabbits and butterflies, and he doesn't know, he's scared of everything. If you see children, they respond with anxiety, they respond with anger. What they're doing is their neuroception is scanning and they are going into fight or flight. There's something in the environment that is frightening them, but it's not something conscious. It's not something you can talk them through.
mm,
Neuroception is like a fire alarm. It warns us of danger, but sometimes the fire alarm won't quit ringing.
Mm.
When the fire alarm won't quit ringing in our nervous system, we may feel angry, sad, or confused. We may try to find someone to talk to, or we may hide away. And we've seen children do that with us. When our agitate, co-regulation is how we fix that. Co-regulation happens when our agitated nervous system syncs up and gets in tune with a calmer, more regulated nervous system. If you're the adult, we're hoping that's you. This connection helps us feel calmer and we can think more clearly. We can even be happier. How cool is that?
Mm. I love it.
So, one of the ways, I'm going to stop my share. One of the ways to help kids regulate emotionally is to start tuning down that fight or flight response.
Mm.
And that's going to be you. There are several ways that I can think of to do that. But Jim, how would you think you could calm down a fight or flight response in a child?
Well, one thing is breathe and make sure you're calm yourself.
Okay. Breathing is really important.
Yeah.
They're matching your energy. And so if you are a calm adult, whether you if you can channel calmness, they will eventually match what you're doing. When kids come in to work with me, there are several points that I follow. The first thing is they have to be happy, relaxed, and engaged. If they are feeling safe, they are far more likely to learn. So when they come in with me, we start out with kinetic sand or slime.
Mm.
We don't start out with worksheets. We don't start out with learning. Um, just that tactile activity, even if it's just for 5 minutes at the beginning, helps set the tone.
Mm.
The next thing, so we have tactile activities, things that they can do. The next thing to give them a sense of safety is to give them choice.
Mm.
So if a kid goes into a classroom, okay, everybody sit here, everybody start, your activities, and then we're going to do this, and we're going to do this, and we're going to do this. And the teacher's making the call. I can do something different one-on-one. A parent can do something different one-on-one. So we
Mhm.
rotate between what we are learning, and then it's my turn, and then it's your turn. So when it's their turn, they have a choice. You can do this or this. And then sometimes, because I have a room full of toys, they go, oh, I want to do that instead. I never say no.
Mhm.
That right there, where there's not a constant hard no. I know that sounds crazy to the people who are dealing with these children. Where there's not a constant hard no, and they have the safety of being able to make a choice, and we work on that activity for 5 minutes or 10 minutes, that also brings down that sense of fight or flight. It starts making the
Mm.
room safe.
Yeah. I can
Okay.
totally see that where you're coming in and then first the tactile kind of gets them centered, a little grounded, and then something where they choose it, another step of like you can just see it de-escalating that energy.
Mhm. We have a little chart. It's not like a behavior chart where I give them 5 points for every activity we complete. They don't have to get it right. It doesn't have to be a big activity, but it's just here. It helps mark what we're doing. It's not their behavior. It's just we're marking, okay, we did this. We've got one activity done and another and another. Um, the third thing I do is I want their motivation. I want their engagement. I build a therapeutic relationship with them, and you can do that too. That therapeutic relationship means you're a person of safety, that they don't have to attack. That doesn't mean you don't have rules. That doesn't mean that you're a pushover. It just means that you are not a threat to them. One of the things to signal safety, and this is like best trick, is call and response. Have you heard of that?
Sure.
Yeah. Um, it's not as much of validating their feelings where they say, "Oh, I really hate my mom and my mom did this and this," or whatever they're talking about. And wow, I understand how you felt about your mom. What happened there? It's not that. It's a little simpler. If you're listening to owls in the wood at night, you'll hear one owl call, and a mile away, you'll hear another owl deliver the same sound. What
Mm,
they're doing is they're saying it's safe.
right.
If you do that with people when you're talking to them, and you just pick a couple of words out of the sentence that they said and repeat those words back, they don't have to make sense. So if you said, "My favorite food is pizza, but I really hated that pizza delivery man," da 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 da, and you go, "Wow, my favorite food's pizza too. I just grabbed favorite food is pizza and I deliver that." I can run through that. And then you say, "And then he ran over my cat. It was really terrible. That cat is so fluffy." Yeah, fluffy cats are the greatest. I understand. When you pick
Mm.
out a word that they have said or a phrase that they have said and deliver it back in your response, you're telling the nervous system, just like those owls, it's safe.
It's safe. These are my people.
Mhm. So I those are some of my cues, just to make them feel heard, to provide motivation and engagement, to give them they're learning self-management when they're making those choices. And I also reinforce all of their attempts. So if they attempt, if they say 2 plus 2 is 28, wow, that's really great. Let's work with that some more. Always approve and reinforce the things that they're doing right, because
Mhm.
that again encourages safety. And if you're encouraging that they're trying, they will try more.
And I love how everything you laid out is what you do in your work, but it's so applicable to what a parent could do with their kid.
Exactly. Yeah. When I first started being a mom, the whole it was kind of the everything that was coming down in the books was kind of authoritarian, and I was just like, that doesn't work. So
Right.
if you
And I
are
can also, just
go ahead.
hearing you talk, I can also see where the absence of some of those steps to bring things down creates an environment where, like, you're just focused on, we got to learn this. But there's so many barriers to that that if you don't start to remove some of those, it really diminishes your opportunity to have a good learning experience.
Yeah, and another thing about learning is it's not just books and papers and learning things. It's also training the working memory. It's training the sense of safety. That emotional sense of safety can block learning. You can embed things into your time. The games are valuable too. Let's say you're working with a child and their working memory is not so great. For the people who don't know what I mean, it means that you tell them something and it goes in one ear and out the other and rolls under the couch. That's
Yeah.
what a poor working memory is.
Yeah.
But I use this game, Goblet,
Okay.
and it is a little, definitely look it up. It's my favorite thing. It's my favorite go-to game for children. It's like tic-tac-toe with an extra oomph to it. I embed working memory games into what we do, and research has shown that that helps augment their working memory. And
Mm.
it works better than if you take it to someplace where they're doing brain training games and then you bring them home. It may not transfer and change how they learn in real time in the real world. But if you embed it into what you're doing, it makes a change.
Yeah. I love that. Wow. I want to ask you about, you mentioned earlier in passing, I'm sure in your years as an educator, you've come across lots of different modalities and things, but you mentioned something that's come into your world that you're a big fan of, which is the safe and sound protocol. But before we talk about that, I want us to take a quick break.
Okay.
When you have a kid who is different, all your ducks need to be in a row, especially your money. Cam Howell with Primerica knows the joys and challenges as he and his wife raise their medically fragile son, Brooks. Cam brings over 14 years of experience to help his clients be protected, have a plan for the future, reduce debt, and connect to resources. Get your financial house in order so that you can enjoy every moment with your child. And now back to the show. Okay, we mentioned this modality you've been introduced to and are using called the Safe and Sound Protocol. So tell us, how did you learn about this and why are you a fan of it and how have you seen it make changes for people?
Okay. Um, I found this. I was working towards. I'm two-thirds of the way through a degree in clinical social work, towards clinical social work. Like I said, I don't know what I want to be when I grow up. Um, so I
You needed
found.
another degree. I get it.
Oh yeah, no, I should collect them, like put them on a shelf and stuff. Um, I was studying polyvagal theory. Polyvagal theory is what I showed you in a nutshell with the little kid with the radar. Um,
Mm-hmm.
it's about how our nervous system senses safety and danger and how that fits into everything that we do. As I was studying that, that's been developed by Dr. Stephen Porges. He has a dual appointment, I believe, at IU in Chapel Hill. Um, I ran into the Safe and Sound Protocol, which is a music therapy program. Um, what it is designed to do is to bring the nervous system into regulation. In the same way, the owls are listening for sounds. Our bodies and all of the mammals' bodies are tuned to certain frequencies that signal safety or danger. A low, deep sound is the sound of a predator. A higher pitched sound is the mother's voice. So the nervous systems that are scanning for safety and danger are scanning for frequencies in the environment. If they hear higher pitches, it gives this nervous system the all clear. If they hear lower pitches, it says that it's not safe. And so you'll see that tension, that fight or flight, that shallow breathing begin. Um, Dr. Porges developed two different programs, listening protocols, where they didn't change how the music sounded, they adjusted the thickness of the frequencies in the lab. So you can be listening to Taylor Swift, but they've adjusted the frequency so it's gearing more towards a higher pitch that your body is going to pick up on. So the Safe and Sound protocol was designed initially, the first research was done with autistic students and helping them regulate their emotions. It was very successful. I have used it. I've been using it for 4 years with students. I use it the most successfully with ADHD and other neurodiverse kids. When they listen to the music, there's an app. When they listen to the music 15 minutes a day, you can see them beginning to let go, become more regulated, become more mature. The parents who have been the most faithful with it are the ones who I have like a whole list of testimonials they've sent me that I haven't been able to put up yet. They're the ones who are the most sold on it because they have watched their children change in real time as it regulates the vagus nerve.
Testimonials, like what's an example of how they change?
One mother has, without giving names, another football player, 15-year-old football player. Um, he has become more engaged socially. So no one is trying to make him make eye contact. That's not something that you do, but he's making more eye contact and he makes more eye contact with me. He seems to be able to regulate what he's doing rather than shutting down as much. He's coming out of the shutdown. So we're not about, I'm going to train you to do your homework. I'm going to train you to stay on a schedule. I'm going to train you to make eye contact with people. It's about letting the nervous system find its way to safety And then those things evolve into happening. Um, Another one is a little boy I had from third grade to sixth grade. Um, and I finally, he was a squirrel. He was a squirrel. He was just into everything, very ADHD. Um, and that mother is probably my biggest fan because she watched him become more regulated, become less jumpy, become less antagonistic as he was able to be able to choose to be calm. And again, this was not something that was being done to the outside of him. He was still himself. Um, Teenage boy um, at one of the schools in Louisville, one of the private schools in Louisville. His mother and I watched as he matured. Again, you can't, I can't get somebody to mature 2 years and 3 months, but he did. Another girl was able to turn off math anxiety, which she asked in her IEP if she could listen to the music while she was taking her test and was able to get through the test without the anxiety that would shut her down. So these are, when you follow the vagus nerve, it governs everything from breathing to heart rate variability to your digestion, so that there would be also cognitive changes and emotional changes is not a surprise.
Mm, I love that. Now, you being a practitioner of this particular modality, are there others? How do people find out about it? And are there others around the country that are doing it?
Yes. The Safe and Sound Protocol, if you were to just type Safe and Sound Protocol into Google or whatever search engine you use, it will
Hmm.
pop right up.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
so look for Safe and Sound Protocol, and I believe it's safeandsoundprotocol.com. It could be actually that simple. Um, you,
Sometimes it is, right?
yeah. This is used, oh golly, this is used by maybe, I'm not going to make up numbers. I'm thinking 10, thinking that I read 10,000 practitioners around the world.
Mm,
There you can ask and request that what you want to be connected with. You can ask for somebody who lives in that area. You can say you're willing to work with somebody remotely. You can give the specialties that you want them to work with, and then they will send referrals out to practitioners all over the world, and
I
they will
love that.
contact you.
That's great. I bet you we're going to have some people reaching out after hearing you talk about that. I love that. All right, I wanted to ask you another question real quick, but first we're going to take one more little break.
Okay.
I'll never forget the day the doctor said, I don't think we'll have to take the baby today. This was March, but our Sophia was not due until June. Hi, everybody. It's Jim Littlefield Dalmaris, host of the Seeing Ability podcast and author of the book Seeing Ability. Our experience having a daughter with CP and other challenges led me to write the book I wish my wife and I had had when Sophia was young. We found ourselves feeling overwhelmed and alone, and I've met a lot of special needs parents who feel the same. That is why I started the Seeing Ability podcast. But I need your help. If you're enjoying today's episode, rate and review the podcast, subscribe on your favorite podcast platform, and go to our Facebook page and follow it, plus like and share today's episode. I want this podcast to become part of the village for families on this path. The dream is that parents would go from being alone to connected, overwhelmed to empowered. So when you're working with parents who have, like you said, kids who are all over the place and regulation is an issue, or who learn differently, or both, um, it's a really oversimplified way to look at it. But like, what would be your big advice to parents who are just struggling with that right now?
Your sense of safety will govern your child's sense of safety.
Mm,
If you can find the support that you need to feel safe and secure, you will be able to translate that and give that to your child.
mm.
It's my best advice.
And so, where would that begin?
You're going to need to find a support system that you can reach out to where someone hears what you're going through. Something like Families for Effective Autism Treatment in Louisville would be a good
Mhm.
place to find people. You're going to need to find a therapist that understands, not going to need, but it would be helpful to find a therapist that understands what you're going through. That may take a little bit of questioning
Mhm.
because you're walking a different path
Yeah.
and you need to be seen. You need to be heard. You need to feel as safe as we need the children to feel.
Mm.
So reaching out for that support, the Facebook pages, those places are someplace where you might find someone to connect with.
Mhm.
But if you have that group to support you, that helps you carry the weight.
Mm. Love that. And some folks listening might say, I kind of like this Susan. I want to know more about what she's doing. How do they find out about your work?
Well, my website is pivotallearningcenter.com. I'm in Louisville, Kentucky. I also see students in Indiana. Um, and as far as safe and sound protocol, I can work remotely with any state.
Fantastic. Well, I wish we could talk for 30 more minutes, but I think my audience are people who are very busy. So I want to say again, Susan, thank you so much for talking with me today.
Oh, sure. Thank you for asking me. Your testimonies are valuable.
Absolutely. And if you're enjoying this episode, like I said, we could use your help. Go to the podcast Facebook page and like this episode, share it with somebody that you think could benefit. We're also looking for future guests. I'm still doing 2 episodes a month. One is a family or an individual who's traveling this path, especially looking for 20 to 40-year-old adults who are that kid, who are now the adult, who grew up with a difference. And I'd love to get them giving their insights on what parents can do to help kids. And then I'm also looking for once a month, I have a nonprofit that's working in this space. We've got incredible nonprofits all over the US doing great work, and I've been honored to have many of them on the show. But you guys know more than I do, so we could love suggestions for that. You can hit me up with a direct message on the Facebook page. Again, thank you guys so much for listening, and we'll see everybody next time.